What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Today what we're going to do is a rebuttal. This is my video to this guy, Icecreamfitness, who I had actually never heard of. I think some people had mentioned something about Icecreamfitness, and I thought it was a company. I didn't know it was a guy on YouTube. But in my video about Dorian Yates, and his discussion about drugs, they linked, or they said something about watch Icecreamfitness's video about Dorian's training and why it worked for him. Okay, so this is not a trolling thing, which now I know what a troll is, but it was directed there from one of my viewers, who is probably a viewer of Icecreamfitness's. And to disclaim this, I am not out to discredit Icecreamfitness, and I'm not out to belittle him or make fun of him or anything like this. So what I'm about to say is not a bash or a knock on him. Okay, so Icecreamfitness, if you see this, this is not to bash or knock you. I'm not starting an Ian thing to poke fun of you or anything like that. But I'm going to speak the truth about what's happening here. Now, in the video, Icecreamfitness goes on to talk about how Dorian built his foundation with the usual 2 to 3 times a week, full body routines. And I agree with that. I think that most people should start there to build that foundation. And as he progressed, he started using various anabolic steroids, and that allowed him to reduce his frequency to only have to train his body parts every 7 days. Then Icecreamfitness went on to say, in bodybuilding circles, Dorian was the one to use massive dosages of insulin first. First of all, who are these bodybuilding circles? The internet? Nobody knows what Dorian did except for Dorian and possibly his inner circle of a few people, like his training partner and maybe Bev Francis' husband, Steve Weinberger. They may be the only ones besides Dorian who really knows what he used insulin-wise. Dorian talked openly about his steroid use. He openly talked about using growth hormone, and he said that straight up, that he wasn't one of the first people using massive doses of it. There were people that came before him, and there were plenty of athletes after him, so he might not necessarily use the most dosages, but he never even discussed insulin and how much he used. Trust me, the dosages that he would use, he would never talk about with these people that would be so trusted to then go out and talk about how much insulin he used. One of the only people to really talk about insulin openly was Dan Duchesne. Dan put it out in Muscle Mania 2000 about how to use insulin dosage-wise, 1 IU for every 10 grams of carbs, etc. But I can guarantee you that you're thinking that Dorian used this insulin and this is why he was able to reduce his frequency. That's not it at all. You don't understand. It's not that Dorian hated to work out, so he wanted to work out less. Dorian did what basically Dorian did. He did what made his body work. Now, the problem that we run into here, and what you're perceiving as a drug thing, because he used so many drugs. He wasn't using any more drugs than the other guys out there in the pro scene. I can guarantee you that right now. If anything, the guys that were here in America that were trying to catch up to Dorian because they didn't know what he was doing out in England were taking probably more than he was because they were perceiving what he was doing. There was no internet, nothing like that. They weren't all friends hanging out talking about steroids. They were probably taking more than he was to try to catch up to where he was, because he was so far ahead of everyone. So if anything, the guys here in other countries were loading themselves up with more, but they still couldn't catch him. And there's a reason why they couldn't catch him. Okay, and there's a reason why Dorian had to wait that long in between workouts to stimulate the growth again. Now again, if you've ever watched one of Dorian's videos, or Ronnie's, or any of the other pros, there is something that Dorian has that the others didn't. And it's by nature that he has this, not by drugs. It is called intensity. Dorian has an intensity about him that he applies when he trains, when he eats, anything he does, even when he judges a competition, because he's an international judge now for the IFBB, that the others didn't have. Icecreamfitness, I've seen your physique and I'm not knocking you, but I can tell by looking at the development that you have never experienced this type of intensity. You say that, well, scientifically, you know, that last rep doesn't mean any more than the first rep. Yes, it does. It absolutely does to get to that next level. If you're not at that level, how do you know what it takes to get to that level? How can you speak about that level? I mean, I can't even speak about what Dorian does because I've never been there, but I have trained with a pro who trained with Dorian. Kevin Levrone actually trained with Dorian. Dorian respects Kevin very much and has said it openly about how hard Kevin trains. And I have trained with him. And I know that if I can't keep up to that level that Kevin trains at, and Dorian is on a level above him, that there's something I haven't experienced yet that guy has. And it's not a drug thing, it's an intensity thing. So now every set that Dorian took to failure, His failure is not my failure. His failure is not your failure. His failure is his failure, which means he mentally can put so much intensity into that repetition that you can't even comprehend how those fibers split. It's not just basic science. There is something totally different going on that he can force himself to do that you can't even conceive. And that's why it took him so long to recover in between these training cycles. Had nothing to do with the fact that he was taking so much shit. If anything, that means that if he took all that shit, he could recover so much faster that he could train his body parts every single day, recover, and be even further ahead than those other guys. Okay? So what you're saying is the opposite of what really happened. He took the shit that he took to recover from workouts that were so brutal that he wouldn't have been able to recover from them if he didn't wait that long, and progress the way he did. And that's how it works. For some reason, you guys think steroids extend the time that you can recover. They shorten the time you recover. You recover faster. You recover so fast, and it's in fact that if you didn't train to failure, you could train every body part every day, which Francis Benfetto actually used to do. Francis Benfetto from France used to train every body part every day and be able to recover from the things that he took because he loved training. But he didn't train to failure. He had that aesthetic physique that never had those globs of muscle mass that Dorian and the bigger guys had because he didn't push the intensity. Like, I'm not saying he didn't train intense, but he didn't push to that point. So I hope this clears up a little bit about the debate on how steroids work and if they extend. No, they shorten the recovery time so you can do more work in a shorter period of time and get better results. But guys like Dorian had so much intensity put in there that they actually took them longer to recover. They pushed themselves so far that actually, if he wasn't on steroids, it would have taken him 2 weeks to recover instead of that 1 week. So that is really the facts on what's going here. And I understand you study, you said, exercise physiology and biochemistry, for whatever it was you said that you study, and you've never seen any kind of positive results from that last final rep. Forget science. Go in the gym and push yourself to failure if you can actually get to failure. Push yourself to failure on every set that you do, and you tell me that it doesn't make a difference in how you grow and how you look. BioStreetTraining@gmail.com. Comments in the section below. Remember, this is not a bash Ice Cream Fitness. I hope you're not taking offense to this. I hope I'm sharing with you something that, as a veteran of 22, 25, I can't even know how many years, over 20 years it's been that I've done this in the gym, and how far that you can push yourself further and what a difference it makes. And we're out.